Spurs could not answer the bell in the second half of the game last night. And it really did feel like two separate halves. The first half was a Spurs team that was hitting shots like crazy, spreading the floor, doing exactly what they had done to Golden State 2 nights prior. Second half, an entirely different story. Wemby had his numbers. Draymond fouled out, but there was a method to their madness. It was to beat up Wemby, get at him, get in his chest, dribble at him, force him to commit, and he did. And for the most part, I think he did a pretty good job. But at the end of the night, he did get shown the door by an older, much more experienced team.
Alpi laid the blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did he not? And by the way, it seems he's okay.
Yeah,
Thank
good
goodness.
news.
But,
Sprained ankle and bone bruise. And we're going to have Dr. Garrett on tomorrow for injury updates. He's a doctor in some sort of a world championship, as he is apt to do. So he'll be with us tomorrow.
So, yeah, I mean, this is it. I mean, rough him up, right? I mean, make him work for it. Make him pay. That might be a stretch, but this is going to be life for a little while until he kind of establishes himself in a further sense. And it kind of wore the Spurs down, obviously. The last time they carried a positive win probability.
I would say it was second quarter. Oh, no, it was in the third. It was actually in the third because they had to, what was it, a 30-6 run? So there was a time when they were still in the lead, but it was early in the third.
Yeah, so with 7:26 left in the third, a little bit deeper than you might have thought.
Really?
Spurs still had a 52.4% win probability. They were up 72-71 at that point, and then you're right, they just kind of kept slipping and sliding all over the place. And this is just, the reason we praise them for the way they, hang in certain situations as sparingly as they do, is because it's so uncommon. It's so uncommon for them to kind of have overall functional offense and defense at the same time in a given game. And so it's rare that they can survive onslaughts like this. And they couldn't, obviously, last night. And it's, what a just, but, it felt like they were, it was, a fight going back and forth, and then just bam, bam. It's just like, okay, all right, it's over. Let him up. And before we knew it, it was too late.
An utter collapse has many culprits. This was Pop post game.
Anybody any questions that might make some sense? I'd be happy to answer them. If you lose, oftentimes you do a few things poorly. If you win, you do more things well, and you have a chance to win. If they had a 30-6 run, we probably did some pretty bad things during that period. And you can just guess, just write down whatever you want. It's a simple game, right? You turn it over, you miss shots, they make shots, your defense sags, maybe you don't rebound. It's all of the above. There's no secret. So to say what went wrong doesn't make a whole lot of sense. All those things went wrong, and then you lose the game.
Greg Popovich post game as the Spurs go down to the Golden State Warriors 112-102. Wemby, for his part, did have 27 and 14 and 2 blocks, but there was a third quarter lapse by the entire team. It's one of those things that you could tell by coach's tone. And first of all, for a guy that's been in that room many, many times over the years, when Pop starts a conference like that, when he starts his presser with, anybody got any questions that make sense? Yikes. Be careful of the next question because that's a hand grenade about to go off. And you could tell he was mad and had every right to be because this team did not answer the bell. They got bodied. They got outmanned. And his star took it on the chin.
I mean, right after beating this team, you know what I mean? That's the difficult mental proposition, right? Like square how this is possible, right? Like without Wemby, on the road, I mean, you throttle these guys, right? Like it wasn't even competitive on Saturday night. Looked like two different teams, and so all of it, again, if an alien landed and we had to, kind of explain this phenomenon, well, Wemby's back, so you should be more competitive. You should definitely not allow a big time run to go against you and make this thing over before, it really is over. It's really, really weird. It's difficult to be that fluky, but that's what happens when your team is so young and inexperienced. And I think we saw, the negative side of that coin. That the positive side of that is that sometimes we talked about this, yesterday, when you don't have Wemby on the court and obviously this isn't an advocation for not having them as a part of things, but there's a liberty involved. There's a freedom. There's a, there's the sometimes, the teacher steps out of the room and comes back and the students are all just studying, right? It's like, wow, the society can thrive without us. But sometimes when you institute a little bit more, put a little bit more on their plate, it's a little bit too much and everything kind of tips over.
Wemby talked about his team's third quarter collapse.
So obviously consistency as always, but today I think it's also responding to the physicality that they put. We didn't have a strong enough response.
They didn't have a strong enough response physically, and it's true. And nobody's ever going to accuse Wemby and Vassell for being too physical on defense. That's just not their method. It's about quickness and lanes and understanding angles, and they haven't gotten it all the way down. When I see an uninspired third quarter like that, kind of flailing after things got going, at some point, Keldon, you have to be a veteran. At some point, guys like Keldon, who have been here the longest, even though they're still a kid, have to kind of man up. It can't all be on Pop screaming from the sidelines, because we all saw
I think
it.
that they've made it about that, though. Like, I don't think it's fair to say Keldon has to save us.
Well, no,
You
but no, you're right. I don't expect Keldon to, just stand up and and do it himself. But he was as much put out of the game physically as anybody else. And his, big body. Come on, man. There's something about your vets when they just go do it, other guys will follow. That's why you have vets. They understand to weather the storm. They know what's coming at them. They, fight fire with fire. They put up and they shut up. All those things that veterans teach rookies to do. At some point, Keldon, you're going to have to be that.
I don't think Keldon has to be that. And I think if you're asking
he
Keldon
is,
to be that,
well,
no, I think like if you're asking, and I don't mean this as a slight to Keldon, but if you're asking Keldon to be that for this team for the long-term future of it, then something has gone awry in a significant way.
Well, somebody at some point has to be a veteran.
Yeah, that person's not on the team right now.
But if we're going to even see the incremental growth, should be somebody is headed that direction. And when you see a third quarter like that, where nobody did anything, it was a 30-6 run at one point with inactivity and just people standing and watching and looking confused and getting bodied, and nobody planted their feet. You know who was the toughest guy on the court last night? Zach Collins. Your backup post had to plant his heels in and get tough. It just tells me that there's an inequity of leadership on this team, that so much is focused on Wemby, so much that if he isn't there completely all the time, because physically he is going to be attacked for the rest of the year, somebody is going to have to step up and bring some toughness.
I just don't think it's anybody. It's Wemby and it's Devin. Like expecting that in March of Keldon for the future. Maybe it would be nice to see.
How many years has Keldon been here? At what point do we give him?
Like, again, like is he part of this?
Yes, he is today. Yes, he is today. And I'm not willing to just write him off like, dude, the future is someplace else, so I'm not going to force you to take any kind of extra steps. Somebody got to man up.
Well, this is where the attrition of losing takes its toll, because I think it's easy for a lot of, people on the roster to say, I ain't going to be here. You know what I mean? Like, why am I going to fight for this? In a weird game that's meaningless against the Warriors, who are also kind of meandering in their own wilderness. No, you know what I mean? This is, it's not quite going through the motions, but it is for a lot of players. It is for a lot of most of this roster. So these aren't some moments that Keldon is going to look back on when he's leading the Spurs in 5 years as some sort of foundational growth. You don't believe that either.
No, I do believe that if I'm on the court and I see my superstar, Victor, getting completely attacked, that I'm going to step in and help. When the guy comes running by me, I'm going to let him know that I'm here too. And when I see another guy on the court miss an assignment completely, just not even come to help, I'm going to go get in his face. We don't have anybody like that. It doesn't have to be some guy screaming at everybody. It's just holding your teammates accountable. And it shouldn't have to be your coach that has to call a timeout. I don't see anybody going, hey, man, what the hell was that?
I would offer, though, for what? Especially when
What
after
do you
the
mean
game
for
is
what?
over.
How about winning the game?
Especially when after the game is over, your coach is going to come out and say, like, oh, well, does anybody have any help? You know what I mean? Like, how is that inspirational for you? You know what I mean? Like, who really cares? And I don't say that in the way that statement tends to normally sound, but we know that Victor cares. We know that Devin cares.
Because last night in the third quarter, I'm not sure how much he cared, and somebody might have needed to tell him you need to care a little bit more.
Keldon for Wemby's faults and blame Wemby.
Yes, I am ready to blame Wemby, but Wemby's 18 and Keldon's been here 4 years.
Why not blame the superstar? We have anointed, properly so, Victor for everything he has accomplished here, but now we're sitting here and saying, you know what, on a Monday night against the Warriors, it really has got to come down to Keldon Johnson to light a fire under him.
He did get 27 and 14. I think he did everything that he was capable of doing, but there are some things that you need to be held accountable for. And against any team, Victor Wembanyama, after playing, how many minutes did he get last night? 31 minutes, should never, ever, ever leave the court with just 2 blocks. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. You'll fall ass backwards. Yes. So when I see the numbers tell me you checked
this
out.
Keldon heat for Victor.
Well, it might, if it's not Keldon, whom?
And no, dude, and Victor had half a week off? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you were the one who said that he didn't play in California because he was tired. He needed the rest or whatever, blah, blah. Okay, so you got your rest. You certainly earned it. You deserved it, et cetera, et cetera. You come out and you can't even muster the bare minimum here.
Well, 27 and 14.
I don't have a problem with Victor, but like, I think you need to bring this smoke for the true kind of, person involved here and not Keldon Johnson.
I'm not on our brigade bar, which I appreciate. E. Huey, I'm not talking about a Lambeer. I'm just talking about a dude on the team that will turn to you and tell you that was awful. I expect more. I'm going to do more. Where's your more?
Why is that on Keldon? Again,
it's on I say the only reason I pick Keldon is because he is the best oldest guy on the team. That's the only reason I choose him, because he is while he's not even a starter, he is looked at as an upper echelon dude, and actually his game is patterned on what I'm asking him to do: hustle, big body work, get into the meat of things, and don't let other things happen. And hold guys accountable. And if it's not Keldon, who?
There isn't that person.
Well, somebody. That's my point.
It
doesn't mean long term. I'm just talking about a guy yesterday. I'm not talking about a superstar in the making. I'm talking about somebody on this team has to look around and go, you know what? You guys are playing terrible.
That's the problem with this roster, is that person does not exist. And so you can be mad about that. That's fair.
I do believe they do exist.
That Keldon Johnson is not that person is displacing the anger, because
Devin,
we know that's not him. Like, if you expect that to be him all of a sudden, I think you're setting yourself up for failure.
Well, no, I think you are. If you don't have the expectation that somebody can step up, then you're not going to have anybody. You get what you tolerate.
But I know what we're working with at this point in time.
No, we're tolerating
halfway
this.
into cooking the meal. We're making spaghetti, and you're like, why isn't there fish?
Oh, no. I mean? See, here's the other part of this.
We're making spaghetti.
We're not even through the first course. Just because the season's over doesn't mean we're not even through the salad. I mean, the season will end, and we're still not even to our hors d'oeuvre. I mean, this is so early, so I have expectations, knowing full well most of you guys ain't going to get to the end of this war. But right now, I need somebody to stand up in the foxhole and say, "Let's go." Now, you might be dead in a couple of weeks. You might be on another team.
Person capable of doing that. And if you're just learning this, I don't know what to say.
Find it. There's somebody on this team.
You're holding Keldon accountable for the mistakes of
Keldon. I list him because he's the oldest best. But if it's not him, Devin, where are you? And if it's not Devin, Trey, where are you?
Cook says the person is supposed to be Keldon, so agrees with you by the number of years he's been here, but he's the one making half the mistakes. Again,
yes, he is. But that's
assigning some level of response. Like, what you're doing is like you're mad that I don't even know how to put this.
I'm mad because that entire team appeared apathetic when things were collapsing, and no one stood there and said, "If you don't got it, I do."
That's the team. That's who they are. That's not new.
But
That's
that's so-
exactly who they've been for this
But to
entire
say-
season, save for a
Yes.
handful of moments.
Yes, but where is it? And if it's not here, somebody got to step up and fill the void. Pop
That
can't be
person
the
is
only
not
guy
on the
there.
team yet.
Okay. But in the meantime, these guys aren't kids. These aren't eighth graders. These are all guys who
Sure.
have been leaders on teams before all their lives. They've been the best guy that's ever played or anybody who's known them up until very recently.
Okay.
And to expect nothing from a group of alphas is to sell yourself and your team short. One of you dudes can and should be doing that. And one is saying the bare minimum. But when I see an 8-minute run of 30-6 of
Runs
inattentive
like that are
basketball
frequent
and
around
watching
here.
rebounds hit the court and watching bounce passes just kind of fly by you like, well, that was an interesting choice. That is when you go, Pop can only do so much. Somebody got to go, all right. That's
Your
enough.
problem is that they are an undisciplined, unaccountable team. We know that. We've seen it for 60 games at this point. I mean, that is who they are. The qualities you seek make sense. The qualities you seek are rational. They are absent of this group.
But so
They do
to
not
say
have it
that
yet.
is one thing. To accept it is entirely different. And I refuse to accept it. And nobody on this team should either. I'm not talking for victory every time out. I'm just talking about, you know what? I'm going to hard foul this cat just because I'm going to stop the clock. I'm going to let everybody else know, you know what? That's going to cost me $25,000, but I'm going to get this turned around.
The fact that they don't have that dude is part of the problem. Again, the way they've constructed this team, they don't have that alpha yet. And some of it is because of not reputation, but because of time served or whatever. You mentioned it. We're at a place where we're saying, Keldon Johnson, you are the most senior voice in the
sad, right?
on the team. You have to be the rallier here. That is insane, and so they don't have that person yet.
Should it
and
be
they
insane?
I don't think it's unfair to say it's insane because they have by design set this up. So you know what I mean? Like they have put that glass ceiling on this team. They have limited them that way. Brian Wright and Pop, they're the ones who I think what you're feeling is fair and what you're feeling makes a lot of sense in a normal setting. This isn't that. They didn't design this roster to be equipped in that way. You're mad about something that they don't possess.
And yet, while I'm hammering Keldon, he didn't have a bad game. I'm not saying that he was awful because he really wasn't. I mean, to get no turnovers, 16 points and 6 rebounds from your sixth man, I'm not going to be mad at it. But what I'm pointing at is when you see deficits like that, you start looking down your bench and go, there's reasons guys are going to be on this team. Some of the guys are going to play a lot of minutes and be expected to do a lot of things. Other guys are going to have to practice their ass off, and other guys are going to have to sacrifice their body on nights like this.
That's all true, but they don't have
but the thing is,
that you're
all
talking
right,
about.
so I'm looking down at Malachi and Blake Wesley and Devontae Graham, who didn't get in, sadly, after having a few minutes. But I'm looking down the bench and going, okay, guys, there's places on this team in the future. And it doesn't have to be the guy that's going to make $60 million and be the dude that's going to handle all the responsibilities. There's guys that are going to make $8 million for doing exactly what I'm going to ask you to do right now.
They don't have those complementary elements to their team. That's simply the reality. It is a very frustrating reality to accept, but we've been living in it for a very long time now. We've been promised an alternative reality in the near future, which is what makes the summer so imperative to take advantage of, proper advantage of. But the way they're currently constructed, they do not offer a chance to live up to the proper expectation that you have of them. That's unfortunate, and it was somewhat controllable, but here we are.
I think the brigade bar is kind of on your end here, although I appreciate what Claymore had to say, Huey as well. Keep them coming. Some of you are looking at this glass a little bit fuller than I am. That's the kind of loss that really there's losing and then there's getting beat. And I don't mind losing if you know what I mean? But when you get beat because you didn't try, you just didn't bring it out. Those are the kind of things that you could hear in Wemby. And here's the thing with Wemby. I think even he, in his youthful naivete, is starting to get an idea that the physicality is going to be something that is going to stay front and center with him until the end of this season.
I mean, a lot of guys want to come at me like this hard all game, but sometimes, especially for veterans, but also especially for rookies. So it's yes, it's another challenge. But sometimes rookies feel like, we can feel like we have something to prove against guys our age or more or less our age. It's yeah.
They're going to come for him. Draymond fouled out last night. That's enough for you to know exactly what the NBA plan is.
Because they have that guy. You know what I mean?
True that.
So we don't have that. And there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of maturity in what Wemby said. And someday Wemby will be that guy in certain moments. He'll have the sense and the wherewithal to understand what games require and when he has to press and when he has to do this, that, whatever. He is only one player, as talented as he may be, and which is why it's imperative you have to have the complementary pieces. I mean, think about it. Last night, and there was a chat or a comment from I think it was Claymore said, in the Brigade Bar, that the Warriors always have a chance and relied on experienced vets like Green and Clay last night, even without Steph. When they don't have the guy, they still have some guys, and even calling Draymond and Clay some guys is minimizing them in their careers. But they have, and they've had alternative guys and other guys, and they've had other role players. I mean, it's a team game. The Spurs do not have that guy. I'm just as upset about it as you are. It's frustrating to watch them kind of just go through the motions, but that's who they are. That's this roster. That's not breaking news.
Now, Wemby did make Sports Center. There was a bit of an offensive foul in the law firm Trace Jackson Hewitt. I don't know. The All-American from Indiana on the dunk that put Victor front and center. A little bit offensive push off. We'll give him that. But that was symbolic of your night, Victor. And I like the fact that Pop let you taste it. Remember when Embiid handed you, what did you get? 70? I don't know what it was. It felt like a little bit of that last night. Now, the good news is I hope you kept receipts. I hope Victor is the type that's vindictive, that revenge, whether it's served hot or cold, is still revenge. You get the Rockets tonight, and the last time you saw him, Alpi Sanguine took it to you, burned your face, made you sit out a West Coast run. He won't be there tonight. You get to redeem yourself. This will be another one of those tests. Can the Spurs get off the mat? Is there a group of guys on that team that refuses to accept this crap? Because keep in mind, the team they lost to last night, they beat without their two best players. They let that team, with their two best players, go on a 30-6 run.
They're being forged in the fire right now. That's the only hope we have to cling to right now, is that they are being built, and Wemby is being built into something that makes days like this a thing of the long past in the near future.
Well, with that analogy, today is one of those days when the hammer hits the hot metal. These are the days when future is forged. Can you get off the mat and go beat a team that took you to the cleaners the last time you saw them? Spurs go off tonight in the frost. The Rockets in town. We hate them for a lot of reasons. Let's hope Wemby has picked up on the fact that it's time to come back on that.